This episode of Marijuana Today Daily is brought to you by Greenworks Consults, a company run by a longtime listener to the show, Jason, who's an expert when it comes to helping businesses get better at doing business. Learn more about what Greenworks Consults can do for you over at greenworksconsults.com with works spelled W-O-R-X. That's greenworksconsults.com. Good morning, Marijuana Nation. It's Friday, August 7th, 2020, and you're tuned in to episode 961 of Marijuana Today Daily. I'm your host, Shay Gunther, and I'll be walking you through today's marijuana news and headlines. As always, we have a full and busy day of cannabis news in our hands, so let's jump right into it. We have Mr. Ben Adlin over at Marijuana Moment take today's top spot with news out of Texas that 4 cannabis companies are suing the state over a ban on the sale of CBD hemp flower for smoking, as we touched on just yesterday in the headlines. A lawsuit was filed on Wednesday by a group of 4 companies that are asking that the ban be declared unconstitutional and thrown out. In their lawsuit, the plaintiffs argue that the ban violates the state's constitution and is bad economic policy in a time when the state could really use some extra revenue. Pop over to Ben's piece on this one for more detail. A successful lawsuit would certainly have an enormous impact in Texas, so this is a good overall storyline to follow. To Michigan we go, where the state's marijuana regulatory agency is recalling a batch of marijuana pre-rolled joints because someone in the manufacturing facility licked some number of them. There are no details beyond that as to how the unreported number of joints were licked, but their report was enough to move the regulatory agency to recall around 3,200 of them just to be safe. If you're in Michigan and need to check if you may have purchased one of the possibly licked J's, you can open up Michigan Live for details on where the recalled joints were sold. This is a very good thing. We need and want safe and regulated systems where actions are taken like this. It's a top story Marijuana Moment sandwich as Kyle Yeager kicks in with story number 3, as it looks like the state of Vermont could soon see some new movement on allowing for legal adult use sales. As Kyle has it, Senate Bill 54, a piece of proposed legislation setting up a licensed and regulated sales program, is expected to make its way through the state legislature during a special session this month or next. Vermont famously legalized marijuana back in 2018, becoming the first state to allow adult use through the legislative process, but lawmakers neglected to add in a sales program, so Vermont adults of age can do everything with legal marijuana that a person in a state like Colorado can do, except buy or sell it in a commercial establishment. Senate Bill 54, something we've reported on here lots in the past, was approved by both the Vermont House and Senate, but requires reconciliation by a bicameral conference committee, so it's been held up in process. A staffer for House Speaker Mitzi Johnson confirmed to Marijuana Moment the intention to get this thing buttoned up during the special session running this month and next. If you need more details, Kyle has them over at Marijuana Moment. As always, we have all the news we cover linked to on our website at mjtodaydaily.com. Those are our top stories for today. It's time for Marijuana Today Daily Headlines Blitz. Before we blitz out on headlines, let's quickly thank our sponsor, Greenworks Consults, a company run by a longtime listener to the show, Jason, who's an expert when it comes to helping businesses get better at doing business. If you think about it, a business is really just a collection of systems and processes. Whether you make physical products like vape pens or more abstract products like, say, a news podcast, your world revolves around systems of doing things, all of which overlap to create your business. And due to the nature of economics, most of those systems come with costs. So anytime you can do things in a better and more efficient way, you're going to spend less money doing it. And when you don't spend $1, you get to keep $1, which means you stand a higher chance at the end of the month of having more profits. If you like profit and want to make more of it, doing things more efficiently, then you need to open up greenworksconsults.com today and learn how Jason and his team can help you. That's greenworksconsults.com with works spelled W-O-R-X. Big thanks to everyone at Greenworks Consults for the support that helps us keep the news lights running. All right, time for the Blitz. News broke last month that the U.S. Drug Enforcement Administration had subpoenaed the California Bureau of Cannabis Control for documents concerning a number of legal marijuana companies, though at the time details were scarce about their reasoning for why that was happening. On Wednesday, some of those reasons were disclosed by the DEA in a court filing, which said that it needed records for 3 cannabis companies and 3 individuals over an alleged scheme to traffic illicit cannabis oil from Mexico into the United States. Swing over to Marijuana Moments for more here and to read the most recent filing from the DEA with the new details over its case. Popping up to my corner of the country here in Maine, Eric Gunderson, Executive Director of the state's Office of Marijuana Policy, said that adult-use marijuana dispensary licenses could be awarded later this month, following nearly 4 years of lag after voters first passed adult use via ballot measure in the fall of 2016. The state has all the applications in for the first round of businesses and has just been working out all the particular details this year to get ready to roll out. The planned opening had originally been set for this spring, but that was set back by the coronavirus pandemic. Marijuana Business Daily touches on a unique program in Pennsylvania where the state has granted 8 special licenses to marijuana companies that agree to grow and provide cannabis for research purposes in exchange for the right to sell medical marijuana. Pennsylvania has one of the more healthy and robust medical programs in the country, so this is yet another storyline you should be well versed in. As Marijuana Business Daily is reporting, the state just tied up details for its 8th and final special research cultivation license, with multi-state operator Parallel committing to a 10-year, $3 million grant for the University of Pittsburgh to study medical cannabis. That will give Parallel the right to run 6 medical shops throughout the state. This is an interesting model and a probable source of new industry insight. We have another Marijuana Moments Business Daily story with Bart Shainman adding in a well-researched, longer-form piece as part of a series examining different states' social equity programs. This time, the series looks at Washington State, which is struggling like most others to get its social equity program up and running. This is something that we all must have a very solid handle on, as it's one of legal cannabis's larger unsolved problems that must be fixed. So I'd add this one to your list to read today. It's also worth going back and reading their entries on Illinois, Michigan, California, and Oregon. Deborah Borchard over at Green Market Report has news of Canadian firm Cronos Group reporting a net loss for its second quarter of $107 million, which sent the company's stock down in price 13% on the day. Cronos Group had increased net revenues of $9.9 million, up $2.2 million over the same quarter last year, but had a whole pile of extra charges and costs, with a $35 million impairment charge alone relating to the value of its brand holdings. Green Market Report has more here. Yesterday in California, court proceedings were held in a case involving a number of towns and cities that have sued the state over the right to ban legal marijuana delivery. We need to start off with a quick disclosure on this one, as it involves one of our past sponsors, California delivery company Ease. California State is arguing that the law allows for cannabis delivery companies to deliver to any person in California, no matter where they live, while the towns and cities that are bringing the lawsuit want to be able to block delivery within their borders. In court yesterday, Fresno's Superior Court Judge Rosemary McGuire ruled against a number of the towns, pointing out that they don't currently actually have rules against delivery and thus lack legal standing. The next hearing on this matter will happen again in November. And finally for today, we end on a very cool story, as the Colorado Court of Appeals just ruled in favor of Stacey Ann McClintock, who was found to have a small amount of marijuana on her while she was being booked into jail for an unrelated misdemeanor driving offense. Police attempted to then charge her with a felony for attempting to bring drugs into a detention center, but in a wonderful bit of common sense judging, the 3-judge Colorado Court of Appeals found for Miss McClintock, saying that since she was involuntarily being brought into the detention center following a traffic stop, the state could not charge her with willful smuggling. Nice work. Those are the headlines and news for the day. I'll be back with you again Tuesday morning with another information-packed episode of Marijuana Today Daily. But in the meantime, if you have any stories to share or feedback to give, zip us an email to headlines@mjtodaydaily.com. And while you're clicking around the interwebs, swing over to our website at mjtodaydaily.com to find links to all the news we cover. Thanks to our sponsor, Greenworks Consults, and to our awesome patron listeners for the support that makes this show possible. To join the illustrious ranks of the patron listeners yourself, swing over to our website at mjtodaydaily.com and click on that big blue button at the top of the page that says Become a Patron. I'm your host, Shay Gunther. Thanks for tuning in and starting your day with Marijuana Today.
One take, Shay. One take.